Okay, so we are here with the T28-2B mining dump truck. So I'm just going to do a walkthrough of all the procedures and some of the stuff about this truck. You can have the best outcome while driving it and see all of the neat little features included. So let's get into it. So let's go around and I'll show you all the little things on this truck so you can drive it properly and not complain that it doesn't work or anything like that. So let's just start around bottom. As you can see, this is very large. So let's go around here. As you can see here, there's the refuel hatch. It's slightly off-colored, so you can find it. You can find a hose here, electrical anchor if your batteries, both your main and reserve die, so you can fill up. We have a fuel up anchor, and we have fuel level. So you can refuel if you need to. This thing can run for 70 straight hours, full tilt, so you should be good. Unless you're doing a massive mining operation out in the middle of nowhere and you've been doing it for a while. Here is your relief valves. You have one on the other side too, right here. So these are your air tanks. So your compressor for your air brakes will build up air in here, and then it will use that air to take off the brakes so you can drive. So this is how actual air brakes work too, and then we just have a relief valve. So if you need to, you can release all the air and your brakes will all come on. So that's this little area, the back. Now for the engine, we can come back here. There's a ladder. You can climb up. We've got a fuel shutoff valve here if you need to. We've got coolant, so you can add some coolant if you need. Back there, those are the fuel tanks. We have kilometers on engine, so just how long and how far your engine has been running. Then you have your two air intake valves. So if you are going underwater or anything like that, you can close these and not destroy your engine. You also have a fire extinguisher torch and hose here, just in case anything breaks or anything like that. Engine doesn't need cooling. It does have the 9x5 heat exchanger, but it doesn't have any pumps on it, so this really isn't doing too much. But this won't overheat. I've driven it for an hour and it max got up to, I believe it was 53 degrees. And if you get overheating, just turn it off for maybe 5 minutes and it'll go right back down. So let's get into up here now. So to get up, you can actually access the engine on the other side too. It's the exact same. Just mirrored. So you can get up either side. Let's just get up here. You can climb up. We can jump up the ladder. Now, these are locked. There's one on the other side too. It's just decoration. We have a little cabinet with some equipment. We have our mirrors. Here is your main panels. So we can open up panel 2. This is your main breaker system. So you have your main battery. We're at 1.7, and then our backup battery is at 1. We have backup power on, and then we have our main system. This will always drain your power, just sitting here, not turned on. And if this happens and you get to 0 or you don't have enough to start your engine, just flip it over to backup power, start up your engine, let this charge up a bit so you can hold the charge and stay running, and then shut this off so that this can slowly build up its charge again. Now up here you have a little light. This is just engine on, so if your engine is on, it will light that up. Now on panel 1, this is all of your pneumatic system up here. So you have your compressor 2, compressor 1. So that's the RPS of the actual compressors off the engine. We have our air tank 1, so the air tank I showed you before, how much is in there and how much is in this one. They aren't the same, so keep that in mind. So you might see them different. That's okay. And then we have tank pressure. It's normally around 40 or 50. It depends, but it'll rest at a number once your compressors are on and this is all pressurized more. We have our tank 1 spring brakes and we have our tank 2 spring brakes. The spring brakes are basically just your e-brake. So to remove the spring brake, what you do is you press the button and then it will add air to the system, and then once the air builds up, it will turn the brakes off. So the thing with air brakes though is there is a bit of lag in this system. You have to wait for the pressure to build up and then the brakes will turn on. It's not noticeable. It's really not long. Not a lot of lag, but there still is some. And then we have the service brakes. That's just your variable brakes. Same thing though, controlled by air. Whenever your service brakes are turned on, this will get pressurized and fill that system, and then your brakes will come on. Now, same with the variable brakes, is they go on hard. So if you have a full load or anything like that, down gear to slow down, get down to first or second, and then press your brakes. Don't go slamming on the brakes in 8th gear, especially with an empty load. It's just the proper way to stop this is to down gear and slow down using the engine, and then just brake. If you need to and you're in an emergency, you can do it, but it's just not as nice. Now we have our generators. Whenever our engine turns on, so our generators are connected to our engine, so we can turn this on, and then it will let power to our batteries to start recharging. These aren't the same generators that recharge the reserve battery. Those ones are different ones. They're way slower. Then we have watts 1 and 2, so that's just generator outputs. We have our engine temperature, and then our engine RPM. So let's see the cab. So we can get in from this side. We can climb through here. This is the passenger side, or we can close this door, and we can climb around here. We have to get in this little corner, and then we can open this. We can climb in, close the door. Now here's our cabin, as you can see. So we have a couple of above controls. We have cab light, cab heat. We have push to talk. So you have a little radio. You have channels here you can switch through if you need to communicate with the ground or anything like that. Here we have mineral dump and raise lower bed. I'll do that out of the hangar because it gets really high and starts hitting stuff. Now we have all of our lights. We have headlight mode. We have 1, which is low beams. Low beams 2. High beams. And then we have fog lights. And then nothing. So that's all good. Here we have low batteries. So if our main battery dips below, I believe it's 0.15, then this light will come on, telling you that you should turn on your reserve battery and turn your main power off, allowing those batteries to charge up. I've never had a problem with the battery. I've had it die once, just because I've been running it like this, and this goes through quite a bit of power. Just sitting here, but you just flip over the emergency power, and then you're good, and you start it up, turn it off, and then turn the main back on. So it's really simple, and it works. We have our left work light, so that's here. We have our right work light, so that's there. It does get interfered with by the exhaust a little bit, so if it's really nighttime or something like that, it gets a little bit distracting sometimes. We have our rear work light, so we can see what's happening back there. And we have our light bar, so those are the above lights. And we have our running lights, like that. Okay. So that's all of those. Here's our fuel in percent. So as I said, this can run for 70 hours and not need fuel. So you should be very good on that. Here's your gear. Here's your right directional, your left directional. So we can use these by pressing 1. You can see. You got lights. Then we can press 2. And you have lights. Perfect. You have your horn. Down here you have parking brake release, a parking brake on light, and then your bucket level. So, and then it says your max. It also says your max on your bucket. Up above that 4077, so you can always remember, and not overfill, because that sucks. Okay, so let's start it out. Okay, it does take a little bit to start. 5x5 engine, so that's understandable. And also, this would IRL take some time to start. It's a massive engine, especially this that has 5x5 flywheel. So this thing outputs a ton of torque. I believe it's 180,000 pounds. And here you can see your kilometers per hour, and then your RPM. Now that does jump around a little bit. That's just what it does right now. So, we release parking brake, we'll be able to hear the air, and then it's off. Perfect. Now we can go up using the up and down. We can go to first. And as we can see here, we've got first. So our shift pattern is neutral, reverse 1, reverse 2, reverse 3. We can go back up to neutral, and we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's an 8 speed, which is great because you can go really... This was designed so that you can go really slow because of the brakes. You don't want to be moving super fast, especially if you're just doing little things, so we go like this. So let's move. So yeah, we're going 5 kilometers in first, but it's easily controllable. If something goes wrong, we can stop, use the brakes, like that. And as you can see, they really lock up. And they're XML wheels, so they do rock a little bit, which is kind of annoying, but there's nothing I can do about that. So let's just drive ahead a little bit. We'll go first, second, third, fourth, fifth. And now, to stop, we're going to down gear. So we're in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then brakes. And look at that, nice and smooth. Now let's put on our parking brake. Pressure is gone, and now our parking brake is on. Now let's do this. Raise lower bed. You could hear the hard points. There are hard points on that, just so that it doesn't rock around, because if the bed can twist on the chassis, then you get the phantom physics, and it really messes you up and you can't steer. So, as you can see, you have this, and then you can press mineral dump. I don't have anything in there. And it will dump all of your minerals out. And then you can see all of your pneumatic system and all of that under here. And that's all good. Now you can just press this again to lower it. And then the hard points will activate again. Just like that. Now let's take our parking brake. Still in first, and wheel drive. You've also got your mirrors. These ones are useful. These ones are not as. You kind of have to get your binoculars and look at them to see, but they are useful once you can see them in the binoculars. And then you've got your rear camera here, so you can see directly behind you. And then it is pretty visual, like you can see all of your spots here, which is nice. And it feels like a big truck whenever you're driving, which is nice. So let's go 2, 3, 4, 5. Now let's just go and climb this hill. So we're at 6, 7. Another note about this truck, you can see the exhaust is now coming out. I had infinite fuel on, so this is actually a good note. You do not want infinite fuel and electricity on. This truck is built to run perfectly without infinite fuel on. It's geared, and the engine is tuned and everything like that for not having infinite fuel. So there is differences in power with that. And this is just meant to not be run like that. So if you do use infinite fuel, you'll really spin the tires out more and get more speed, like you might go 50 kilometers instead of 40, but it won't handle as well and everything will just feel a little bit off. And electrically speaking, I think it'll work, but your reserve might be a little bit funky if you need it, which you won't if you're in infinite anyways, but you know, just more things to keep in mind. So we have a max speed of about 40 kilometers, which is pretty good. Like, you don't want this thing really getting up and moving. So I'm happy with this speed. It's reasonable. You can still get places and not feel like you're super slow, but you can also stay on the roads and all of that. This thing cannot cross bridges. It's way too wide, so that's a good thing to keep in mind. And I will show you what happens if you press the brakes on while you're in 8th gear going almost 40. Look at that, we do a little wheelie. So that's what happens. And that's why you want to slow down gradually using the gears and then press it. If you're in an emergency, it's a great way to stop immediately. But if not, then just don't, really. Okay, and that's it for the driving / tour, whatever you want to call this, around my truck. So I hope this was helpful, and I really hope you can have some fun with this. And it was super fun to build. So I look forward to future things kind of along the same lines as this. So thanks for watching.